How are you, my people? Today, let us talk money, let us talk finance. Just saw something interesting in the financial market that I think it deserves a mention. Mm, uh, in the past couple of days, the Dow Jones flashed below 30,000 and has taken a turnaround. So it's coming from 36,000 went to 29,000 and something. That's like a 18%, close to 20% drop year to date. Similar with the S&P also, I think around 22-23%. And the Nasdaq, the tech heavy Nasdaq, down 30%. And all three indexes have moved up since the past 2 days. And what has happened in the past 2 days or past week is the bottoming of uh of Bitcoin. Bitcoin just went under 20,000. It was like a flash out as well, like a market flash out. To me, that's what it looks like. And every time on the market there is a flash out, there is too much noise. It means that the trend is ending. Okay, the trend ends when everybody thinks that the trend is not ending anymore. When there is blood on the floor, that is when things turn around. But what makes me speak about this thing is because I see this trend across multiple platforms. I mean, across multiple assets. Uh, the gold price is turned around. It's not just this past week, but gold is not as hot as it was before. And another market that I looked at is the very important one, oil and the uh, gas market. The yeah, the gas market has turned around in the past 2 weeks. Gas prices are coming down. That is natural gas, and crude oil prices also in the past week they have taken a turn. Today, as I speak, uh, the uh, the British one, which is the Brent crude, is trading at 108 $8 a barrel. The West Texas Intermediate, the WTI crude, which is traded in the United States, is today at $104.30. I mean, we're coming from levels of 125 in the NYMEX and 120 in the WTI. Now, people are talking about high oil prices. Now, what has led to these high oil prices? Except mostly the war in Ukraine. But in my assessment, I think that the overreaction is overdone now. Because if you look at it, uh, what is the material change as far as the war in Ukraine is concerned? It's not like there is going to be a massive slump in oil production. This is just the market overreacting. The market overreacts every time there is bad news, geopolitical news, war news is really positive for the oil price. That is why the oil price went very high. But if you look at the war in Ukraine, what is the next stage? Do you think that Putin will go into Europe now? Or it probably is most likely to end in Ukraine? And even if the war is exacerbated, how will that affect the oil deliveries, the oil output from OPEC countries? OPEC countries are able to uh, to up their deliveries, and Russia isn't really curtailing on its production because of the war. Russia is still willing to sell its oil. So because of willing seller, willing buyer, there's going to be people out there who would want to buy Russian oil. And my belief is that the oil prices went up, spooked by this war, and also the fact that the NYMEX trades in London, Europe, and Europe has got a direct a link from UK, from Russia. So they might think that the disturbances there might cause a problem of supply in Europe. But that is just a European problem. It's not an American problem, it's not an African problem, it's not an Asian problem. So the fact that the traders, many of them are in Europe, they would overreact. Yet globally speaking, there's always going to be oil supply. So I think that now we are getting to a point whereby this theme has been overplayed and oil prices will begin to come down. This is not a prophetic word. It's just my own analysis as I see it. Because since I've always been watching the markets, I know every time there's blood on the floor, when they all come out and say this is going to happen, that is when that is not going to happen. If they all come out and say oil prices are going to keep going higher, I don't see any catalyst to keep oil prices go high, because all the catalysts have been exhausted, and the oil price is really beginning to come down now. And also the stock market prices that have been coming down, they did capitulate. To capitulate means that they quickly flash down, they quickly come down to the floor, and then suddenly they begin to pick up. So well, to say that this is the flow of the stocks is a good trade to take. It's not 100% going to happen, but it's a good trade to make with a nice stop loss. But it's a higher probability that we are at the bottom of the stocks, at least for this season or at least for this year. If you think there's going to be a recession coming in 18 months' time, okay, maybe that recession will come after we actually get another high. So now the Dow Jones is 30,600, S&P 3,700 is up 1% today, which is quite good. I think it's the second or third day since, second day or third day it's been up since the 2 weeks fall. There was really blood in the stock market. So I think that turnaround has come. I do not know anything about the US dollar. I cannot say anything there. But basically, if you look at gold in this medium term range, I don't see it going up. If the market is a buy, then I don't think that the gold price will go up. But another thing that is a big buy is actually Bitcoin, because Bitcoin doesn't have really an intrinsic value. Like, how much is Bitcoin? It can be 5 cents, it can be $1, it can be $10, it can be 1,000, it can be a million. Anything goes. But it's just about Bitcoin as a currency, and actually not as a currency, but actually more of as a speculative asset, because that is really what it is right now. So you will see that coming from 60,000 and finding a support at $20,000. $20,000 on the Bitcoin is a very critical level. Remember when Bitcoin came up, from the first time when it came up from $500, 1,000, it went spiraling up and had this. It looked like this is like a point, like this thing pointing upwards. It went to 20,000 and came down to 2,000. Then went up to 60,000, and now it found the floor at 20,000, which is the previous high, is now the current low. Therefore, I think for that reason, that is a flow of Bitcoin. If that is the flow of Bitcoin, it means that the next high of Bitcoin is not 60,000. The next high of Bitcoin will probably $100,000, $200,000. Is that possible? Of course it is possible. I mean, this is a tulip mania bubble kind of like thing. Okay. So is it a Bible? I think it's a bubble. Justified? It's not justified. Would it happen? It's most likely to happen. It's unjustified as it is. No, it's most likely to happen because human beings love bubbles. They love chasing bubbles. And part of the reason why the Bitcoin price went down is also because that some of the Bitcoin trading houses were over leveraged, and they took very risky bets on Bitcoin. They had to unwind a lot of Bitcoin positions, and it exacerbated the sell off. And since it found that 19,000, 20,000 floor, which is the previous high, it's kind of like a confirmation that it is a key level. And therefore, what's going to happen with Bitcoin is that because of speculation, I don't think that people who have given up on Bitcoin entirely, it's always going to be a new wave of new money that's going to come to play in the stock market because it's a big gambling market. So you would still see that over time, whether Bitcoin is going to spring up now or it's going to churn in the early 20,000s for quite a bit of time before it rises to a stratospheric level of $150,000, it is still yet to be seen. But it's more likely that if you're not over leveraged and you enter Bitcoin now, you've got a higher probability of making a profit in the next year or 18 months, you know, until the so-called recession that we are waiting for is come. Or it's most likely that the recession that we've been waiting for is now. We are going through a recession now, but we are not actually aware of it. And now we're talking about now record levels of inflation. South Africa have got over 6% inflation, which has been reported as the highest in 5 years. The Americans have got the inflation highest in 40 years. So these are record levels of inflation. Now that we've broken the levels, okay, does not necessarily mean that we'll go higher than this, because the factors that contributed to this inflation seem to be subsiding to me. I do not see the war in Ukraine escalating to further higher levels, and I do not see the COVID virus also coming to destabilize the supply chain. I do not see the so-called smallpox, or what is it called? That funny pox, rabbit or monkeypox, whatever they call it. Well, these days this is an unknown world, but for now, it doesn't look like it is something that is going to be very problematic to the markets. Therefore, when there is too much fear in the market, that's when we become brave and we enter. And yeah, this is not an investment advice. This is just a personal analysis that someone can take and use or not use. But I think it's worth talking about. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and tell your friends about us.